at Phoenix City Hall. I'm here to stage a protest against the terrorism of India that's going on against the Muslims of India. They live as a minority. They are the biggest minority in India. And they have been persecuted and ostracized. They have been recently stripped off their right to practice their religion freely, which means the girls can't go to school if they wear a hijab. They cannot eat beef. They are not allowed to freely practice their religion. And recently, as of the latest escalation of violence against them, their right-winged nationalist leader just denigrated the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, publicly. And in response to that, when the Muslims tried to do a peaceful protest, they were attacked by the cops in India. And the cops brutally murdered a child who was killed with due to the persecution and the brutal assault of the Indian cops against him during these protests. They have been stripped of their rights to practice democracy, their democratic rights, which gives them the right to practice their religion freely in that country. The Constitution of India supports Muslims' right to practice their religion freely. However, in the last few years, this right has been taken away from them, and now they are being attacked unconstitutionally and subjected to state-sponsored terrorism. And the state has complete immunity. Nobody can question the state. The judiciary of India is with the state. It is complete, total chaos. The country has fallen into the hands of extremist ISIS-like factions that have a radical agenda of converting entire India into Hinduism against the wishes of the people. It is not just persecuting the Muslims, it is also subjecting violence against the Christians, against the Sikhs, the Dalits. The Sikhs who refuse to be called Hindus are forced to submit on their ID cards that their religion is Hinduism, when their religion is not Hinduism. They have an independent religion of Sikhism, but they are also fighting for their rights. The one organization that is behind this open persecution of minorities of India is RSS. We all know that. What we don't understand is that why is the Biden administration supporting this Muslim genocide and also persecution of the non-Hindu minorities of India. We saw Antony Blinken, the state secretary, talk about the persecution just very superficially. No action was taken. No tangible steps were taken by the government of US against India. No proper confrontation was done, to the point that when the Pakistani foreign minister went to visit Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State was obsessed with trying to convince the Pakistani foreign minister to support the designation of India as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. This was the agenda that Secretary of State had when the foreign minister of Pakistan went to visit him. That could you please vote for India and support designation of India as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Imagine, just imagine the irony over here, that we have a state like India that defected against the US interests in the Ukraine war with Russia, that actually is the very reason why US is losing this war in Ukraine, and that is being encouraged, empowered by the US administration against the national interests of US to orchestrate further genocide of not just Muslims, but persecution, subjugation of every minority of India, forcing them to convert to a religion that they don't want to convert to, forcing them to not pray the way they want to, forcing them to quit a dress code that they feel complied to abide by because of their religion, like hijab. This is persecution. This is genocide. People are dying on the streets in India right now. A young boy, an adolescent boy, was killed just the other day with complete immunity, not just from the Indian judiciary, from the Indian law enforcement agencies, but also from the Secretary of State of US and from the Biden administration, who are completely supporting this agenda of genocide. They have yet to confront the Indian radical nationalists who are acting like the ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who want everybody to convert to Hinduism in India against their wishes, who want to conquer Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and convert the entire land to Hinduism, who are following a radical, extremist, terrorist agenda, who have been written up by every human rights organization in the world, who have been written up by Amnesty International, who have been written up by the United Nations Human Rights Organization, who have been written up by the HRW. So how can the administration of Biden stand by this Muslim genocide happening right now in India? If we have 2 Muslim congresswomen right now within the Biden administration, how come we are seeing this open genocide of Muslims happening in India unattended, unconfronted by the Biden administration? Why do I have to come here, being a Muslim, to draw your attention to this genocide? Why can't we do it on the basis of humanity? Do you have to be a Muslim to condemn the atrocities that are being committed by the state of India against the minorities of India? No. You just have to be a human being. Humanity has no religion. They're not just Muslims, they're human beings. They're children. A kid was killed by the cops of India. What can you do as a nation to end this genocide? You can confront the Biden administration. You can start calling your representatives, and you can support a boycott and sanction of the state of India till they end this persecution and this subjugation. India is not on your side because a state that has an agenda to convert an entire country into one religion forcefully cannot be on anybody's side. Imagine when Hitler tried to do that, how did the world react? When dialogue failed, when boycott failed, when sanctions failed, we saw World War II. We are in the middle of war in Ukraine right now, which is technically an epilogue to World War III. Can we allow a World War III to erupt out of the current chaos that's happening in India? What will it take for the Biden administration to keep its promise of observing human rights and the International Charter of Human Rights? According to the United Nations resolutions, Indian minorities have the right to practice their religion freely, to be able to go to their mosques, to their synagogues, to their temples without any subjugation, without any atrocities, without any persecution. This is a right given to the Indian minorities, not just by the Indian Constitution, but also by the International Charter of Human Rights. So tell me, how can Biden administration support designation of India as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council when India is responsible for war crimes, not just in Kashmir, but is also committing heinous atrocities against the Indian minorities? If we do not confront the Biden administration in US today and tell Biden to do his job, we will see World War III erupting out of India. And this is going to be a nuclear apocalypse. This is not going to be the World War II where there were no nukes till the last moment. This war is going to start with nukes, unfortunately. And this is the time to stop this war from happening. We are looking at a staged genocide of Muslims in all of India. There are millions and millions of Muslims living in India right now, and their lives are at risk. What we saw in Myanmar is going to be repeated on the streets of Delhi. And what is so unfortunate is that the United States administration, the government, is standing by these atrocities, these war crimes, and these human rights violations blatantly, shamelessly. I come here today to request the American people to kindly intervene positively to affect their government so that a decision is made in favor of human rights, in favor of democracy, in favor of religious tolerance, in favor of the right of every human being to exist, to coexist in peace. This is a call for peace. This is a call for humanity. This is a call for religious tolerance, for coexistence, to live and let live. We must confront the Modi administration today as a nation. We must confront Biden administration for wrongfully supporting a regime that is radical, that is extremist, and that has the same agenda that ISIS had. When ISIS tried to attack the Christians in the Middle East, the Muslim governments supported the Christians and the American people in this war against terrorism. The Muslims have fought side by side with the American people in the war against terrorism to get rid of the terrorists like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And today, we request as Muslims that the American people reciprocate and get rid of these RSS terrorists who are terrorizing not just Muslims in India, but Sikhs, Dalits, and most of the minorities that are currently living in India. This is not just a threat for the Indian minorities. This is not just a threat for Kashmiris. This is not just a threat for the regional countries that are in the zone. This is a global threat, just like ISIS was, just like neo-Nazi Hitler was, and just like Al-Qaeda was. If we are to support a future of peace and harmony and tolerance and coexistence, we have to work together as a team to eradicate the terrorism that is happening right now against the minorities of India at the behest of the terrorist radical organization RSS that is masterminding the ruling regime of BJP and that have their puppet Modi as the Prime Minister of India. I'm here today to request the American people to rise and confront their government and change these policies that are working to aggravate conflict and make peace impossible. Nobody wants a third world war, let alone it be a nuclear one. Nobody wants an apocalypse. We all want to see our grandkids flourish, thrive, graduate, marry, have their kids. We all want that, right? That is something we have in common. Despite what religion we have, despite what language we speak, despite what's the color of our skin, we all want a future that is a future possible for your children and my children together, where there's room for everybody. Can we have that? If there's terrorism happening right now in India that is state-sponsored, that is committed by the RSS terrorists, and that is killing children, women, old men. People are losing their livelihoods. They are bulldozing the homes of Muslims in India right now. They're bulldozing their shops right now. They're making them lose their livelihoods. They're making them lose their lives. And nobody has dared to confront them within their country. In fact, they have complete state-sponsored immunity. So today, I request the American people to stand up before the Biden administration and ask the Secretary of State to do his job. And if he does not condone to this violence against the minorities of India as he's publicly endorsed, then he must not allow India to become a permanent member of United Nations Security Council. In fact, this is time to address the membership of India in the United Nations. It is time to call upon the nations in the United Nations and try to bring about sanctions, boycott against the state of India because of its ongoing terrorism against the minorities of India. We have 1 billion people living in India right now, and half of them are not Hindus. Imagine 500 million people's lives at risk because of their religion. This is how enormous this situation is. Lives of 500 million people. It's not a small number. It's a big number. It's a big genocide. It's a big persecution. It's a big subjugation. And American people can stop it. You can do it if you stand together with each other. Whatever your religion is, whatever your color is, if you unite and confront your government, if you unite and confront the Biden administration, you can do it. You can do it just like Martin Luther King did it. Just like he did it. You can do it too. But you have to unite. You cannot allow the agenda of a few secret societies to prevail and destroy this world, because this world does not belong to them. This world belongs to your children. And this world should be a safe place for your children. What is happening in India will have its ripple effect in the US. We saw what the war in Ukraine did. You cannot say you are miles and miles away from Ukraine, so that war is not going to affect you. It has already affected you. Look at the gas prices. Look at the hyperinflation. It has already affected you. There is rising food insecurity that's reaching a global level. So don't tell me that what's going on in India is not going to have any effect on you. It will have an effect on you, just like the Ukraine war did. And the problem is that India is a nuclear state. And when you have the nukes of India in the hands of unstable, extremist, radical terrorists like RSS, like BJP, like Modi, you can only anticipate the worst. And what is the worst? The worst is a premature apocalypse, a nuclear apocalypse, where the world is going to end for you and your children. They won't be able to see a tomorrow because of what the state of India is doing right now. They have allowed complete immunity to the terrorists of RSS, giving them consent to persecute, to lynch, to subjugate, to oppress the Indian minorities based upon their religion. If you stand by India today, you will not have a world tomorrow for your children and for my children. So we are in this melting pot together. This is your business as much as it is my business. If I'm here, so should you be. Because we share this planet together. There are all of us sharing it. The air, the water, the seas, the land, the mountains. We share it. And if there is a nuclear apocalypse that irradiates the oceans in India, we are all going to be affected from it. If a nuke gets blasted due to the extremism of these terrorists that are ISIS-like, that are Al-Qaeda-like, that are on a mission, on a fanatic mission to convert all of their country into Hinduism, if they blast a nuke out of their fanaticism, the air is going to be contaminated all the way to Phoenix. You won't be able to grow any food for your children. You won't be able to have clean, drinkable water. You won't be able to have clean air that you could breathe in. This is not just the problem of the Indian Muslims or the Indian Christians or the Kashmiris or the Indian Dalits or the Indian Sikhs. This is the problem of every American. Just like when the blacks were persecuted in US, in Canada, in Europe, this was not just the problem of the blacks. This was a global problem because an injustice being committed on the basis of color is an injustice committed against everybody. So now you see injustice being committed on the basis of religion. In India, it is not just an Indian problem. It is your problem too. It is my problem too. It is the problem of every American. And it is up to you to face, confront, rise, and protest against your corrupt politicians and tell them that US is not going to stand by the war crimes of India. US is not going to support the genocide of the Indian minorities. US is not going to empower the RSS fanaticism and the radical extremism of BJP that wants to convert every Indian into Hinduism. You have to do it today before the war comes knocking on your doors right here in Phoenix. You have to stop this from spreading. You have to nip it in the bud. You have to eradicate the terrorism of RSS, just like Muslims of the world supported you in the war against terrorism by ISIS and Al-Qaeda. RSS is telling its members that if you rape a Muslim woman, it's going to give you 100 blessings. This is how bad it is. They have made rape of a Muslim woman part of the doctrine of their religion. This is not even Hinduism. The religion of Hinduism does not condone to violence or rape. RSS has its own religion, just like ISIS and Al-Qaeda had their own religions. They were not following Islam. We disowned them. They were not Muslims. They were evil, and so is RSS. But I'm here asking you today, we fought against ISIS. We fought against Al-Qaeda so that this world is a safe place for everybody. My question to my American brothers and sisters is, are you willing to fight this war against terrorism of RSS that is happening right now in India, that is killing little children, that is raping women, that is persecuting 500 million people? I repeat, 500 million people. Their lives, their livelihoods, their honor is at risk, is already compromised because of one terrorist organization. We are in this together, just like we were in this together in the war against terrorism of ISIS of Al-Qaeda. Terrorism has no religion. RSS is a designated terrorist organization. India cannot be allowed to gain permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council. That is not something that you can allow your government to promote, because that is a proof of your government supporting, empowering, orchestrating a Muslim genocide. That is a proof that Biden administration suffers from Islamophobia. That Biden administration and Antony Blinken are at war against Islam and against the 2 billion Muslims of the world. Because if they are willing to support an organization that glorifies the rape of a Muslim woman as part of the religious duty, then I'm sorry to say, you have to revisit your constitution, because your constitution cannot allow a regime like Biden to rule this country if it stands by the rape of a woman just because she has a certain religion. If Biden is going to support RSS, knowing that RSS glorifies the rape of Muslim women as part of the religious duty of its members, then Biden administration is committing a Muslim genocide knowingly, wrongfully, and must be held responsible for this unconstitutional policy that goes against the US Constitution, that goes against the International Charter of Law, and that is against the basic doctrines of humanity. We have to process a resolution against India today in the US Congress, and we have to process a resolution against India in the United Nations. That has to be done by the US administration. But they're not going to do it because they're corrupt. The only way to make them do it is through democracy, through your voices, through your stance, because lives of every human being matter, and we are in this together. This world cannot be allowed to be ruled by the bad guys anymore. We have seen so much bloodshed. We have suffered so much globally from the war crimes and from the dirty agendas and the secret games, the coward games of these bad guys. Now we have to unite. I request the American people that good people have to come up. All of you have to come up. You have to unite for the greater good, for the future of your children. That is at risk right now because the Biden administration doesn't care anymore. They have their own vested agenda. On one hand, they're saying that they condemn the human rights violations going on in India. And on the other hand, they force the foreign minister of Pakistan to give complete support to membership, permanent membership of India in United Nations Security Council. This is hypocrisy. This is deceit. This is lying. This is dirty, stinking politics. And it has to stop right now because it's the lives of 500 million people that are at stake right now in India. And it will be only a matter of months before this terrorism from the streets of Delhi is going to start striking on the doors of your homes in Phoenix, in US. Bye-bye.